Well, Donald Trump continues to send shockwaves across the globe. Less than 24 hours after his so-called reciprocal tariffs took effect, he's announced a pause. Well, to unpick this a bit more, Yuka Roya joins us on the desk. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, well, the US president, as we know, backed down from higher tariffs of up to 49% on dozens of countries that went into force at midnight on Wednesday, announcing a 90-day pause to allow negotiations to take place. A flat rate of 10% tariffs that took effect last Saturday remain in place. One exception, China. Washington raised the blanket levy on Chinese imports to 125%, accusing Beijing of choosing escalation over negotiations. Previously, the new reciprocal tariffs, coupled with earlier duties linked to fentanyl trade, had risen to 104%, prompting Beijing to retaliate with its own tariff of 84% on imports from the US. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent hailed the result of the tariff threat. The tariff threat yielded, saying some 75 countries had come forward seeking a deal. The decision came after global stocks and US bonds were battered for days, but Bessent said the decision to pause was not influenced by the recent turmoil, claiming the market didn't understand the president's strategy.
The successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today, it has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate. It took great courage for him to stay the course until this moment. These are complicated negotiations. These are imbalances that have taken decades to create. But I think having seen the maximum level that Donald Trump is willing to go to, President Trump has created this negotiating leverage.
Well, Wall Street stocks skyrocketed on the announcement. The Dow Jones closed up nearly 8%. The Nasdaq, the S&P 500 nearly 10%, and the Nasdaq really rallied, had a best day since 2001, rising above $70,000 mark, up 12%, as you can see. Before this announcement, though, European bourses ended the day deep in the red, with London and Frankfurt shedding another 3%, Paris sinking 3.3%, Alex.
Now, we might see some of those bourses picking up when they are waking up tomorrow, but not for China, as the trade war very much stays on.
Well, Donald Trump is now hitting China, as we said, with a 125% levy on all goods. That means any item from the Asian giant will now cost more than double at the US border. That escalation came after Beijing hit back with its own tariff of 84%. China, for now, is saying it won't capitulate to Washington's demands and fight to the end. How long this trade war will last and how much damage it will cause is anyone's guess at this point. But let's go back to the root cause, the US's trade deficit with Beijing. Last year, the US traded more than $580 billion worth of goods with China, but it imported far more than it exported. Trade deficit for the US widened to nearly $300 billion, a 5.8% increase over 2023. And despite the rise in tensions and threats of tariffs, or perhaps because of them, that trend accelerated in the first 2 months of this year. While the overall trade value in goods declined from the same period last year, the trade imbalance increased significantly. The head of the World Trade Organization warned today that the tariff war could reduce trade in goods between the two economic superpowers by as much as 80%. Despite Premier Li Qiang saying that the government has enough policy tools to offset the impact, China has a lot at stake. Earlier, I spoke with Xiaolin Chen, head of international at Crane Shares, a China-focused investment firm, for some insight from China's perspective.
439 billion is not a small number. That is roughly, give or take, is 2.3% of China's GDP. China's GDP is around 18.8 trillion. So overall, the nominal number is high percentage-wise. It's right around 2.3%. Still, China's largest manufacturer in the whole world, period, the end. Have they diversified enough away from US? The answer, short answer, is yes. They used to have a significant percentage of exports is facing in the United States. However, year over year since 2006, that China's exports partner has shifted away from developed market as a whole to ASEAN, to frontier, to emerging market, to their One Belt, One Road partners. Today, US exports give or take around 12% of China's GDP altogether, or exports altogether. So all I'm saying is China is very prepared in navigating these uncertainties. Somehow this second term Trump's administration gave them 4 years in preparing to say, what if he took office? So they have plenty toolkits ready to stimulate the economy domestically.
A rather hawkish analysis from the China expert.
Yeah, and good on you, Yuka. It's been such a roller coaster today that I imagine it's been very tough covering all the business news, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you as that comes through. We're next